Molly's got an EGAT on her back again. She's got one of the white birds. Maybe y'all can't see. Hold on. Hey guys. I don't know if some of y'all are watching this morning's video. It's Saturday morning's video. And you're watching it in the evening. I finally turned comments off. Can't leave a comment. I'm sorry. Yeah, I turned comments off. I just get mad, and I don't want to be mad. And I guess it's like, I just want you and everybody to understand that this horse is not being trained by Jake to be a cutting horse. He's not being trained to be a roping horse or to run barrels, or he's not going to be in some kind of Kentucky Derby. He is a pleasure horse. He is for me to saddle up. Well, eventually he'll have a stall up here and his tack room will be on it. But he is for me to saddle up and ride to the river and back. These maybe little 45-minute, hour-long rides where I can get back to. That was something I loved to do as a kid, as a young adult. As a young adult with 3 kids, I still rode. It hasn't been that many years. I mean, it's been a lot of years, but not that many years since I was on the back of a horse. Guy, he's not a big guy, so it's just like, Jake, I don't want you hurt, so jump off fast if you feel like he's going to buck. When Jake was here, this every morning ride was never really my intention. I'm glad it's worked out that way. It hasn't bothered me whatsoever to meet Jake out here and ride every morning for 15 or 20 minutes. Yeah, that's the length, if you don't even realize that, but he's on that horse about 20 minutes total every morning. But all I wanted to know originally, when I first said, Jake, would you come and get on him, I wanted to see him with somebody on his back. Was he going to buck? Was he going to act aggressive about it? Was he going, he's got a beautiful temperament. He is just awesome. And I know that a rider can ruin a horse. Jake hasn't done anything because he's an inexperienced rider, and we're talking like beginner and inexperienced. He hasn't done anything that's going to ruin him for me when I get ready to ride. And I don't know. I turned comments off. I was just like, nope, I can't do this. I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna be mad a little bit later. And then Mom said, I was talking to Mom. I went to pick up her groceries and drop off some stuff at UPS, and she said, why are you even doing any videos? I said, well, this was the first video I've made. This morning's video, Saturday morning's video, was the first one I've really made of Jake on the horse. I've done little snippets, and I think, and some stuff, and I've loved on him, and I've brushed on him, and I've done things like that on video, I guess. I said, but mostly I've let Jake has had all these riding videos on his own channel. And I said, but when I asked Jake, I said, because I went to one of them, and I said, there was so much negativity on it. And I asked him, I said, Jake, how can you do it? And he goes, I don't even read them. And Mom goes, well, does Jake have to have them? And I was like, Mom, that's not the, Jake likes to record. Jake is one of those that'll record the good, bad, and the ugly, where I just want to record. I would have been just perfectly happy getting him all ready, and then the first time y'all see a video of him actually being ridden with me on his back, ride to the river. And who's going to complain? But at the same time, we get complaints all the time. You get these snippets of our lives. Like right now, I've sat here for 11 minutes and talked, and in a few minutes I'll go burn that pile. But somebody, I can't feature what, but somebody might say 2 or 3 things about something. And it's just because either they're not paying attention, or because I'm squirrel, I change the direction of what I'm talking about to different things. I don't know. I don't know how many people have come on, oh my gosh, what happened to your leg? What's wrong with your knee? Have you seen a doctor? And I'm thinking, I've had a knee problem now for right before we cleaned up after the flood. Now, we didn't clean up after the flood the day after the flood. So that would have been back in May. We had to wait for a few weeks for it to dry up and can move around back here. And Daniel came and helped me clean up some stuff. My goats had already knocked me around a little bit, and I was having a little twinge in my knee. Then I stepped in that hole and made it a little worse. And then just when it was getting better, even though I went to the doctor and said, look, I don't know, I feel like it's been a long time, but could you check? And, and he came, so he did all this stuff with my leg, this way, sideways, up and back. And he goes, you don't have any arthritis. He said, but he goes, I believe you have tendonitis. And he said, I'm going to prescribe this and this and blah, blah, blah. But it was that Sunday morning in the kitchen when I turned, and I really felt, and the pain since that Sunday morning has been nothing compared. I mean, no, I don't mean nothing. I mean, it's been so much worse. After Sunday, just this past Sunday, 6 days ago, the pain in my knee has been so much worse than it ever was when I thought the goats knocked me around or stepped in a hole. This has been the worst. So if I messed it up a little worse, if I re-injured what was just starting to get better, I don't know. But I've got people that even in today's comments said, oh my gosh, what happened to your knee? So you, right off the bat, those people are the kind that don't watch very often and just check in every now and then and didn't know anything about my knee. I've had people act like I'm helping Jake learn to ride his horse Spike. I can, you can't see. Oh, it doesn't matter, just flew down beside her anyway. Anyway, I got a burn pile right out there, right behind the goat house. I'm gonna go set that on fire and see if I can't get that cleaned up some. I liked Jake this morning. He did some, he was trying to do some turns around that burn barrel, and I told him, I said I made a joke like he's doing it. He's learning he's taking his first barrel, like barrel racers. But I like the fact of doing that turn around that barrel left and right, getting that neck loosened up. But I tell you what, big boy's doing awesome. I don't know if it is going to burn, and I don't know why it wouldn't burn. Everything that fell out of them trees was dead. But it ain't looking like it wants to. That's the one I want to get picked up and see if I can't get on the pile, even if it won't burn for right now. I don't know why it won't burn. The stuff that fell out of these trees were dead limbs. They knocked that gate off. I put that gate back on the hinges, and they knocked it off. Daniel pushed a bunch of this stuff up for me the other day, and he cut these limbs. Yeah, see, this one is, I might can pull this out of here and throw it up on that pile. I need to get down in the middle of it, but I don't want to fight with my knee. Oh, down in there. I don't want to step on stuff and then trip off of it or something. So I may not get to burn this pile today. I need to get like down amongst that. And I'm scared to put my knee on something and then twist it somehow and it hurt. I need to fix this over here because let's see how Sam does it. That's what they've done. One of them has knocked, the whole thing is not on. These goats. One of them put their, because both these hinges are facing upward, which is just the easiest way to do it. But it means just exactly what happened here. They can put their head in and lift it up and the gate comes down. I'm just gonna open it back, I guess. I keep fighting with them over it. Hey guys. One hand and alright, I got it propped back and I tried to pull some of this old fencing and tie it up closer to the standing fence so it wouldn't be in the way of goat or horse or cow feet getting wrapped up in it. This whole fence has to come down. These cattle panels can be pulled to the side and reused. The solid post, well, some of these posts are just landscape timbers, which will not hold up forever. This is a landscape timber right here. Eventually this will be broke at the ground. These are good posts. They can stay here and the gate can stay here. But all of this fencing needs to eventually, all this barbed wire needs to come out. And all this netting that's all, this net fence, I mean, y'all see that? This has been pushed down. Look how low it is. This is 4 foot tall goat wire. And it's been pushed down to the ground. And then it comes back up again. Then it gets pushed down. Then it's pretty much up all the way except real loose. And then when you get on this side of the fence, it's just all the little 2x4, the little 2 inch by 4 inch square wire that I use in my yard. But I like to use it. It's mainly to keep the dogs and the chickens either in or out, one or the other. If it's a cattle panel, dogs and chickens will go through. And this was what Steph and them, they used the goat wire on the outside fence and they used it up this back side. But this wire right here, from this section down, they didn't put up. This is what I was saying. It's like cluster of T-posts just stuck in the ground trying to keep the goats from going. Because if you look, this is that dip. It goes down right there, that spot right there. We go, it's a low. Then it wraps around and eventually ties in. Well, it's low over here, but it's also that one right there that runs up. It goes that way and then up Mom and Dad's driveway, runs along the side of the driveway. So it's just this whole little area right here. You can see the land going up to where he's at. It's low, 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 and then starts rising up there. This is a high spot here because when they dug the pond out, they were leaving it high over here. And I said, no, please don't leave that like that. I said, from my back porch, hi baby, Gimli. I said, from my back porch, I want to be able to look out and see my pond. If you leave it high, so it's, I wouldn't call it a berm, but I guess you could say like kind of like a berm. But I made him move all that dirt to this side, and then they smoothed it all out. So there's a high spot on this side of the pond. And you can see it's high there, it dips down, and it gets high again. Before this was high here, it dipped down and it was just sort of low, it was all sort of flat. From the mulberry tree, it was high, and then it's just sort of went low and stayed even until you started going back up in my yard. Up in the backyard about right past the garden where I was trying to do those new garden beds, remember? And I was on a slope. That's where it starts rising back up. So this high spot right here means when the water comes around and it comes from the river, it comes this way. This would be a high spot, and you wouldn't get another high spot until you got on this side and started going up into my yard. Anyway, that's all that's doing right there is smoldering, so I guess that's just all it's going to do. Look at him checking out Spike. Big boy's watching Jensen. Jensen, he was just looking at you. He was wondering what you were doing. Gimli, baby, I love you. I love you, Gimli. Sweet boy. But you weren't very good to Katie. I thought you would be the sweet boy and be sweet to Katie, but you weren't very sweet. Anyway, I'm going to get my stuff and hobble back up to the house. Oh, we go to Tina's tomorrow for lunch. We'll be celebrating Rom's birthday, I think, and Bennett's birthday. This looks good on mowed. Daniel cleared it all up, pushed everything here, mowed out that line right there, and then we did lose a couple of limbs in the last few days. Well, there's a bunch of dead stuff up in this tree. Just a good storm would knock all that out. I don't want a storm, I'm just saying. This little back pasture was, there's that dead pine over there. Dad says there's two. That one's still alive right at the very top, but yeah, basically that's two dead pines. There was these big old pine trees all back here. I don't know if I think I've told the story, but some of you new guys might not have heard it. Unless you went back and watched some old videos. But there's these clusters of these big old pines all out here back when my Nanny and Papa were still alive. And I'm assuming Daddy and them were probably teenagers, maybe young adults. Anyway, there was that cluster there. There was a few more in this cluster here. Then there's that big one there. There was one a little bit further up there. There was just these clusters, like 4 or 5 clusters of trees in these different spots. Somebody at church talked to my grandpa, Papa, Daddy's daddy. And they like come to an agreement of them cutting some of these pines. Maybe they were going to cut all of them. I don't know. Out. You know, Papa's going to make a little money, and then he's going to have a few less pine trees. Well, Nanny came home, maybe from buying groceries, I don't know, but all of a sudden she gets home and she hears all kinds of racket, saws and stuff. She comes out the back door, and you have to remember her house sat right where my house sits now. No, y'all aren't coming in right now. And she come out the back door and seen this logging company out here cutting trees. She come out screaming, hollering, get their butts off her property. They weren't cutting another tree. I don't know. I never heard my Nanny or my Papa say bad words, so I don't know if they said any, if she said bad words or not, but they got their stuff and got out of here. She wasn't going to have any trees coming down. Anyway, it's kind of funny. We would not have these big old pine trees if If Nanny hadn't have come home, they'd be gone. They'd be cut and gone. And she stopped that. But she was always planting stuff. My grandpa, to be mowing, he always used the brush hog to mow like the fields and stuff down. Keep it, you know, I guess they mowed the yard with a mower. I'm sure back then it was just a push mower. But the fields and stuff, he would use the brush hog. And Nanny was always planting trees. Always. Digging up a tree in the back and bringing it here with as much root as she could get and putting it in the ground somewhere around here. These crepe myrtles that line my driveway, this one here, the one in the side yard over here, those are all originally from my nanny. These old tallow trees, we call them taller, she called them taller. These old Chinese tallow. She planted some of them. Tallow trees come up easy on their own. You don't really have to plant. But I know when I was a young girl, young adult, and building my house up on that hill. Now it's gone now from the flood. I didn't live in it during the flood. Tina had some renters in it. Levi's daddy built that big awning thing that Bree turned into her horse stalls. Yeah, that was ours. And right where their little gray barn is, that Bree for a while was going to make a chicken coop out of and then decided not to, I had a shed there too. Not that shed. That's a complete, Rob built that later on. But I did have a shed there, and it had a little lean-to off of it. So my car parked in the little lean-to. And then this big shed was built for our boat and his truck, Levi's dad's truck. And then our house sat sort of over this way a little bit. Just a little bit in front of Dad's bee box. But I gave it to Tina when I bought Nanny's place down here with the big old house and everything. And Tina and Rob lived in it up until they bought the property down here in the corner, back behind us, way down there where the washout is on the road. And when they moved into their new big house down there, right down below us. So anyway, I lost power outside. When my house was up there, that was the first house that I'd ever had. Me and Daddy built it. Nanny would, she would, like, all of a sudden she'd pull up and she would have 2 or 3 trees, all their clumpy roots on the bottom. And she would say, "Where do you want to put these trees? Because you have to have shade in your yard." And we'd walk around and we'd find places that would be a good spot for a tree. And then in '94, the flood came. And we have 2 roads in Plum Grove that are actually pretty close to our church, the Assembly of God Church. We call them the river roads. They're just like dead-end roads with a couple of roads off of the main road that had, I don't know, just like a handful of houses down there. But they went to the river. They dead-ended at the river. FEMA bought all those people out down there. Well, I'm not going to say that. There were some that didn't leave. There were some that had their houses on stilts already. But there were a lot of houses that were on slabs. But the ones that were on slabs or that were mobile homes and stuff like that, FEMA bought them out. And some of them had really nice landscaped yards. And FEMA came in and tore their houses down. I mean, like nothing left. Even the slabs, they piled up, put it in them big containers, and there was, like, besides a yard that had some real plants like rose bushes and things like that, and hedge, red tipped hedge, and all this kind of stuff, you would never have been able to tell there had been a house there. Nanny would come get me and she would say, "Let's go get you some trees." or some bushes or some rose bushes or something. And we'd go down them river roads to those houses that there was nothing left anymore, and they were starting to grow up by then. And we would tromp through there in our rubber boots or whatever, and both of us have a shovel. Usually she had a sharpshooter. She was always she always had, I usually just always had regular old shovel. You know, had the little point on the end, but it was just a normal shovel. She always brought the sharpshooter to get deep down in there and get as much root as she could. She knew what she was doing. But we'd dig up plants and put them around my house and stuff. But what I was saying about her planting stuff, my papa would be out there mowing, and he would just want a nice wide open place to mow. You know, he just the same way with when he was going to get rid of all them pine trees. It just gave him more pasture. You know, no hay, no pine straw and stuff. It just nice green pasture. She put a stop to it. But every tree she'd stick in the ground, she put a little stick beside it. He'd come over. He'd just be mowing it, and then he would, well, I didn't even see it. I forgot it was there. I didn't even know. To the point where she started putting fencing around her trees. He wasn't going to run over wire and stuff. So she would put little fences around her trees. Things like that you remember. Makes you smile. Makes your heart happy. But yeah, she'd pick me up. And sometimes if she didn't pick me up and we'd go together, she would just show up with 2 or 3 plants with their little root ball ready for me to stick in there. Nothing, she didn't go places like to nurseries and buy things. She'd find them on the ditch. She'd just get out of her truck and cross the ditch and dig up a plant. She was funny. My nanny was funny. All this St. Augustine that I have in my yard here, this beautiful grass that looks like carpet when it's not a drought and we've had good rain and the grass is just beautiful and green and soft and smushy. All of that St. Augustine came from the home they lived in Baytown, because my grandpa worked for Exxon. He retired from Exxon. He was an Exxon engineer. And when Grandma Morrow, my grandpa's mama, Daddy's grandmother, still lived here, I guess whatever grass they had in their yards was just bahia. But Nanny and Pawpaw lived in Baytown, because that's where he worked, was in Baytown. When he got this place from Grandma Morrow, they were coming down on the weekends and working, fixing fences, working in the house, doing things. Nanny would bring plugs, just little plugs of grass of that St. Augustine that was in their yard in the house. I don't know if it was probably just a rental. I don't know. I don't guess I know the history of whether they owned a house in Baytown or if they just rented it, or if it was some kind of like workers, like how the military have the bases and they have the living quarters. I don't know if maybe it was something like that. I don't know. But she would bring plugs, and my mama, mom or dad once told me that story. That's how the St. Augustine came here. And she would do the same thing for me up there on the hill. There is St. Augustine up in that field in the house up there where Bree's little barn is, all around, so many feet around all them trees. Whatever trees are up there were planted by me or Nanny. And if it came from anywhere that there was, she would bring the grass with it. The clumps of grass, like the tree and the root ball and whatever grass was around it, she left it intact. And eventually I had St. Augustine. I mean, it just, St. Augustine sort of crawls across the top of and you get shoots, and then off the shoots, little roots go down into the ground. And she would bring those little plugs and put it all out here when they were working on the weekends. She'd bring like a Coke, like the Coke flats, the soda flats, little cardboard boxes this tall, the sodas came in. She'd bring 2 or 3 of those with little plugs of grass, St. Augustine grass, and then she'd just plop them in the ground, different places. And eventually, I mean, you're talking about, it's not 100 years, but talking about probably 70 years. I'm estimating, I guess, that she was putting plugs in the ground out here. Because I'm 56, she wouldn't have been doing it because when I was little, when I was born, this house was already, their house was here. Well, it was Grandma Marlowe's house to start with, but they lived in it. Daddy had lived in it. Daddy lived in it right here. So he was born in the 40s. So it would have been before the 40s that she was coming here every weekend to work on the old house that was here, getting it ready for the time that they would finally move to it. And my papa still worked in Baytown. He still drove to Baytown every day, back and forth. But during that time, when they were living in Baytown and coming here, she was bringing plugs of St. Augustine, and she put it all over this place is nothing but St. Augustine. Now, every now and then you get a little bit further out, like where my garden is right now, the old garden, you can see some bahia shooting up. But most of my backyard and all of my front yard is nothing but St. Augustine. And now that house up there, that place up on the hill where Bree's got her horses at, all around where the yard was, there's a whole lot of St. Augustine, because she'd bring trees and we'd stick them in the ground and they'd have the grass all around the root. Anyway, that's a good memory to have. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I didn't get anything I wanted. I worked on that fence a little bit. Sort of got the wire out of the, that fence needs to come down. It just needs to come down and be redone. I mentioned to Steph a while back about taking the whole fence down and just leaving it until both of us could have afforded to go in halves and put up a new fence. And I don't know, she sort of acted a little like that maybe offended her, like I was trying, I don't know what. The fence looks bad. And Molly was already here, and the gate was open. The gate was laying in the ground because they'd already knocked the gate down, whether it was Molly, whether it was my goats, whether it was Steph and Buddy's old goats. The gate was not even attached. And the fencing just looks, y'all seen it, it looks bad. And I made a comment, I said, Steph, why don't I just slowly take all that fencing down until one day when we can put it all back up again in a better way. I don't know, she didn't look like she wanted me to do that, so I didn't bring it up again. But it does bother me that I don't want one of my animals to get wrapped up in that old mess that's all torn up out there. So I don't know, pray it don't happen. Anyway, I am going to go, and I will see you guys later.
Later.
Okay. Just say hi to everybody.
Hi.
You want to tell them bye or anything?
Bye.
You just said hi and you said bye.
Yes.
What's wrong with you? Are you sleepy?
No.
Oh my gosh, you're crazy. All right, bye guys. God bless y'all. Love y'all. You guys up there that had the hurricane, I know some of you guys got a lot of water. I know flooding. I'm so sorry. Just stay out of it, guys. Do the best you can to stay home until it's... I got to get this wrap off my leg so I can sit it up. Anyway, just do your best to stay home and not have to need to get out, because it's horrible fighting water. We've been in a couple of times when the water's been up and we'd leave our vehicles like down at the store, and that one night that Daniel said the water's gone down, but if the river starts coming, the rainwater had gone down, but the river had not crested. He goes, we probably need to get our vehicles home while it's down. And I hated it. I mean, it was still pretty high water, not coming in my truck. And that was when I was driving the little red truck. But it was enough that I was just like, I'm not doing this. I hate this. Just stay home. Don't get out in it. Anyway, God bless you guys. Love y'all. I'll see you later. Katie, I'm trying to do a video.